Fala galera, Christian hoje no comando do Heavy Culture Talk e hoje estamos aqui com o Andy Brings, ex-guitarrista do Sodom, atual guitarra vocal do Double Crush Syndrome e produtor musical. Bom, galera, não se esqueçam aí de ativar o sininho, né, as notificações, deixem seu like, tá? E quem quiser fazer Pix, tem ali embaixo os links, tudo, tá? Obrigado pela participação aí, vamos começar com o Andy. Okay, Andy, thank you very much for being here. Okay,
thank you for having me.
The first question is impossible to avoid. Okay, it's your participation in Sodom, one of the greatest bands in Germany, thrash metal bands known everywhere, mainly here in Brazil. We have lots of fans, and I would like you to talk about two main albums, which is Step in the Vein and Get What You Deserve, which are very important in the career too. And how was it for you to be playing there? Because these two albums, they have more a punch of hardcore, and I think you like it very much, and also classic heavy metal in between.
When I joined Sodom back in 1991, at the end of 1991, I was 20 years old. I was still in school, and Sodom was already a big band, especially in Germany. So you can imagine what that meant for a 20-year-old guy who had no idea what to do after school. But then I joined Sodom, and then I knew what I was going to do after school. So I joined the band. Excuse me, I have a little cold. I'm sorry. So I joined the band, and we immediately started working on new songs because Michael Hoffman, my predecessor, left to the band to live in Brazil, actually.
Yeah.
So, and we started right away. I'd only been in two or three small bands before. I had only played 2 live shows for almost nobody. So everything was new to me. Everything was exciting. And everything I knew and everything I was and everything I had to give, I put into Tapping the Vein. You know, all my riffs, all my ideas I had collected for over, I don't know, 10 years or so. All my energy, all my spirit, my love for the music went into Tapping the Vein. And according to Sodom fans, my joining the band was a breath of fresh air, so to speak.
Yeah, I have to say that Tapping the Vein is, for me, one of the heaviest thing ever in Sodom career. And one of the most emotional at the same time, you know. Yeah, it's like the solos you made there, it's like they're amazing. Mailing and Resurrection. I was like Reincarnation, sorry.
Reincarnation, yeah.
That solo was like something amazing, you know. It's like
the solo, the guitar solo.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I have a surprise for you. Just as you mentioned this.
Yeah.
This is the guitar I recorded the album with.
Whoa.
This is the only guitar I had at the time. It's not very fitting for Sodom. This is obviously Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
But it was the only guitar I had, so I played everything with this guitar. This is the Tapping the Vein guitar.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I kept everything. You know, it's my first real good proper guitar. So of course I still have it. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad people still love it. I mean, it's been over 30 years. People don't forget. Sodom fans are very loyal, and it means the world to me that it means so much to them. You know, it's been a long time, but it's eternally young, so to speak. Not a month goes by, or not 2 weeks go by that some Sodom fan from some place in the world mails me his collection. They ask me, they find me on Facebook or Instagram. Ask me, can I send you my album, my album cover collection, or my battle jacket, my shirt, my everything? Can I send over my Sodom collection? Will you sign it? And I always say yes, but please put postage, or return postage in the envelope, in the package. No problem.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do this. So if you want your stuff signed by me for some reason, I will do it.
For sure. And how was the experience in getting the sorry, get what you deserve? I mixed the names.
I mean, it was a different band. I was in the band for one album with Chris Witchhunter, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. When I came into Sodom, Tom and Chris were already not friends anymore. They were already going in. I'm sorry, going in separate ways.
Yeah,
which was very unfortunate. But
for sure.
things happen, and so I only got to do one album with Chris, and then Atomic Dive joined the band, and again another breath of fresh air. I mean, we were really excited, and before What You Deserve, we made an EP with called Aber bitte mit Sahne with the German Schlager, German party song from the 70s. So that was a small appetizer. But Get What You Deserve, to this day, I think it's if there is a Hall of Fame of the most pure, in-your-face, raw, no bullshit albums with like Welcome to Hell from Venom, March of the SOD from SOD, and Get What You Deserve is right up there. Because it's so pure and so no overdubs. It still is a huge fist face.
Yes, it's like Get What You Deserve is something like raw, brutal, and technical at the same time. It's like it is amazing. It's like one of my favorite albums too. Together with Happened, it's like together with all discography. Sodom is one of my favorite bands. I always enjoyed Sodom since I was a 14 years old boy. So the thing is, like, Get What You Deserve, as you said, gave a new life to Sodom because it's a different album. But Midnight Shine also is a very good EP too. It's a very different kind of music, but very good. It's like I remember when Tom and Joe River released Uncle Tom, which is totally different from Sodom. And also very good too because of the influence of hardcore. And I always noticed
excuse me. This is where I come from. I was just listening today to the second DRI album, dealing with it, or the first DRI album yesterday, and then I hear my influences. It's the punk rock guitar, the Bad Brains, hardcore punk style. This is what I brought to for Sodom. I would have loved to continue on this path, but Tom didn't. So things changed.
Yeah, it was good if you kept on the band. It would be like more hardcore too. It's like I grew up listening to punk rock, hardcore, thrash metal, and black metal all mixed.
Right.
Like, I really enjoy hardcore because it's like part of my life too. It's like energetic, and you have that feeling that the sound is alive. It's different than just being just heavy because of the production and things like that. It's like playing hardcore. It's independent of the production. Hardcore is something that you feel when you make like something like heavy. You can fake it with the production. And talking about production, you became a producer. How was this change into your life, and how did you decide to become a producer?
It wasn't so much a change, but an addition. I was always interested. Everything I do, I'm always interested in how is it done. How does this work? What are the inner workings of an album production, or of a movie, or of a music video clip, or something like that. I'm always interested in what's behind the scenes. So every time I was in the studio with my bands, and even with Sodom, I was there for the whole time. I was interested in what's the mechanics of an album. How do you record an album? I mean, it's not so much that I'm an engineer. I don't know so much about frequencies and stuff like that. But but I'm a producer. I know what I want when I work with a band. I know how to get the stuff out of the band that's in there, even if they don't know that it's in there. You know, that's what I find interesting. To get something from a band like a demo, and then the work begins. My favorite thing is when I do the pre-production phase with the band, when I'm actually in the rehearsal room. I always say to them, for the time being, I'm a band member. I'm the fourth or fifth or sixth band member, so I have an equal say. And I want to make a good song very good, a very good song great, a great song awesome. That doesn't mean they're all number one hits, but what does it matter? You know, the fun is in the work. I love to work. I just love to work.
Yeah, it's the satisfaction of doing what you love, not for the money.
Exactly.
Nowadays, it's very easy to produce an album. You know, technology helps a lot. People can produce albums at home, but unfortunately, more and more bands sound like plastic, in my opinion. You know, like it's not something natural. As a producer, how do you see this? You know, as a musician too. You know, because nowadays it's like we have heavy plastic metal.
It's true. I mean, it's very simple and easy to do these days. But on the other hand, sometimes it's not very unique. You know, everybody uses the same guitar profiles. Everybody uses the same snare sample, and everything sounds big and bigger. But the band doesn't. You know, I always say a lot of metal fans these days would be very surprised if they found out how a drum kit actually sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, just go into a rehearsal room, no mics, no nothing, just stand in front of a drum set, and you'll be amazed how pure it is and how uncolorful it might sound. You know, it's a very basic thing, and that's what I love to bring out. You know, if any band can sound like a huge professional act these days. You know, it's I don't know, 30 years ago or so, difference between a Metallica album and an underground band's album was huge, super huge. It was impossible to get to that level. Nowadays, you know, it's
almost close.
Oh, it can be very close, but you know, it's I always wondered what does the band sound like in the rehearsal room. You know, it's everybody uses tracks now these days to be super professional and super high quality, hi-fi sound in live shows. I prefer practicing till you're good, and then go out. That's what I like more.
Yeah, that's why some of the bands are pretty different live. You know, people get kind of, the band doesn't sound like in the studio. And we have the opposite too. Some bands are great live and they don't sound good at the studio because somehow the producers didn't understand the thing. A good example of that is Black Sabbath's Forbidden. It's a great album. It's an injustice when people say that the album is bad. The production is bad. The album is great. Tony Martin is a great singer, you know. And I would like to ask you about this, like, if you had like a favorite album that you would like to be the producer, which album would it be?
Which band I would love to work with?
Yes, like on a classic album, like already released. Like I would like to be like the producer in this album.
I mean, I would have loved to be in the room when Motley Crue recorded the first album, Too Fast for Love.
Yeah,
because to me, this is the greatest album ever. And they are not even my favorite bands. I like them very much. But my favorite bands are Kiss, the Ramones, and Skid Row. But the greatest album as an entity ever made is Too Fast for Love by Motley Crue for me. This album is so much pop, but on the other hand, it's so dirty and so much street and so much so much dangerous Hollywood. You know,
Yeah.
it's amazing. They were a dangerous band. They were a dangerous band. They sounded dangerous, and it's so wild. So yeah, you cannot make that up. You cannot find any samples or guitar plugins or whatever profiles to do this. Either you are this or you are not. And they were.
Yeah. And being the production of an album, how do you feel it? Like, as you said, you were part of a band when you were producing the band. But how do you feel it being in a band and producing the album at the same time? Like, how is it for you?
To me, that's no problem because I wear a guitarist hat when I have to play guitar. I wear lead vocalist hat when I have to sing, and then I put on the producer's hat, and then I can forget about the other identities. You know, to me, the only thing that really matters is the song, and I'm willing to do anything and everything to get it to where I want it. So it's no problem. But even in double crush syndrome, and maybe that's where you are going with this. With the second album, I added a producer because when I say bands should use a producer, it's also valid for my band too. It should be valid for my band too.
Yeah.
So I can do it, but I love the outside inspiration from somebody I trust. So
Yeah.
So it's a co-production thing. We produce it together, and the best idea has to rise to the top always. No, you have to leave your ego outside the door, and then you enter the room with a clear mind, with a fresh conscience, and you're open to the best idea that's somehow somewhere in the room.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a counterpoint here, like when you try to produce your own album, is the fact that you can do something very great and also you can screw everything because, as you said, as your ego. It's like, I wrote the music, I know how to produce it, and the thing is not like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
mean, as I said, I only care about the song, not about my ego. I don't have a guitar player's ego. I don't care. Even in my band now, in my Any Brings solo band, I don't even play the guitar solos. I have another guitar player who's way better than me for this. You know, I don't have a guitar player's ego. I don't think I'm the greatest singer in the world, but I have a vision of the song, and that's usually where I start. I have some kind of vision, and then we figure the rest out along the way.
Yeah, and now talking about double crush syndrome, I have to say that I got really surprised to listen and see you singing, which was a big surprise for me because you're a guitar, like we know you as a guitar player. How was it for you to become a singer? Because I have to say that you have a very good voice. You sing very well, and it really fits the band, you know.
Thank you. I mean, I had a band called the Tracy Lords before, from the 90s to like 2006, where I was also the singer. So I've been singing now for almost 30 years. Immediately after I was not in Sodom anymore, I started to sing. So I've been a singer for 30 years now. In the beginning, I was struggling. You know, you have to find your voice, and you have to learn how to sing and play guitar at the same time independently and make it look cool. You know, it has to look good. You know, you don't want to have the guitar up here and look at the time. You know, it looks stupid. I want to look cool. So I had to learn this, and I had to find my voice over the years. But now, for like 5, 6, 8 years now, I'm very confident with what I do as a singer. I like my voice. I think for my songs, the songs that I write, I'm the best singer, and that's all I want.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I was watching the video for Dap to Pop, and it was amazing. And the song too, because it kind of reminds me a mix of Alice Cooper and hardcore, like he did in Hey Stupid. Remember that? Like the first album. It was like a very interesting mix, you know. It's like, and also your voice reminds me a little bit Alice Cooper in the very old days, like not so strong as him, as his voice, sorry, but I think you have kind of an influence.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a major influence, especially the early stuff. You know, the Love It to Death album, $1 Billion Babies, Welcome to My Nightmare. These are all play a huge part in my upbringing. And I think Welcome to My Nightmare is one of the best 10 best albums ever recorded. You know, I especially love the work he did with Bob Ezrin in the 70s, you know, like Go to Hell, for example. So
Yeah.
if you find Alice in Death to Pop, I take it as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I really found it interesting. It's like the videos here is like, and could you update us about Double Crush Syndrome tours and things like that? What you're planning?
Maybe that's that's the ocean between us. Information doesn't travel that fast sometimes. The band is on hold for 3 years now. I stopped. We still exist. We played one show in 2020 and one show in 2021. But basically, the band is in the freezer. So Death to Pop is still our new album, almost 4 years now. Yeah. But I'm still active. I've released a solo album last year with the same guys in the band. The drummer and the bass player and Double Crush Syndrome are in my solo band as well. So, but it's in German and it's rock and roll too. But this is what I am focusing now on these days. I don't. That doesn't mean that we will never do DCS again, but for now, the band is in the freezer.
Yeah, it's like I would like to.
We toured with everybody, and we did so much. You know, it's okay. You know, I miss it, but I don't miss it. You know, because it's still there. And if we want to, if some promoter from Brazil sends me an email tomorrow, hey, we would like to see your band in Brazil, then let's talk. You know,
I think it would be very interesting to have something released in Brazil because
that would be the first. Yeah,
be very accepted here in Brazil because lots of guys like this kind of style here too. And it's kind of a mix of a classic rock and roll style, punk rock, and things like that, adding your vocal, which is very good too. So it's like it's a band that is really worth checking. That's like I didn't know about bands, like I know you from Sodom, unfortunately. But also it's like I got into Double Crush Syndrome and I got like really surprised about the work. It's like amazing. It's like emotional, raw at the same time. Everything that's like I would say that's like. For a more mature audience at the same time and a new audience, you know, it's like, because as I said, it's like as an old man, I can notice lots of influences from the old past, you know, like hard rock and Alice Cooper and things like that. I'm also a great fan of Motley Crue too. It's like weird when it's like, wow, it's like I'm into black metal by instance. But I really grew up listening to that kind of stuff, 70s, 80s, and things like that, because I was born in the 70s. So it's like music's part of my life, and it's interesting that when we see bands evolving and bringing back something that people seems to forget, you know, because nowadays we have a revival, which is cool, but unfortunately it's a little bit boring. Because the bands are not able to make their own way with their identity. They have to sound like Sodom, they have to sound like Destruction and other bands, which is pretty different when I listen to Double Crush Syndrome. It's like it doesn't sound. You see, you notice the influences and it's still original. And nowadays it seems almost impossible to do that, you know, to bring a revival but with your own identity, you know, because people were more worried about sounding like the band than having an identity. I don't know about your opinion.
That's true. And having an own identity these days makes everything more difficult, you know, because the festival bookers, agencies, everybody, they all just want, I think, more of the same.
Yeah.
It has to look a certain way, it has to sound a certain way, and then we can press it into form. And so I think it's a little bit sad, but whatever makes you happy. If people are happy reenacting old videos from the 80s, be it. I want to be my own. I want to be my own person. I want to do what I do, and if that means my music doesn't get released in Brazil, and people have to find out the hard way that I exist. So
Yeah,
I can't help it.
Technology is easier, like pretty much easier, as he said. That's the good point about technology. You can find things that would never found in the 80s or the 90s.
Exactly.
And that's the good point. I would like you to talk a little bit about your solo album. What can we find there? Like, what kind of emotion did you put there?
I mean, if you like Get to Pop, I think you're gonna like my German solo album, although it's with German lyrics. Forgive me, but it's my.
I like German. I really like German.
But it's rock and roll. It's just one guitars, bass, drums, my voice, and I have background singers who are very important for the sound. Two female, two girls, two female background singers, and it's a rock and roll big band, so to speak. And I'm super happy. It's straightforward rock and roll, but always with a pop attitude. It's just what I do. I call it power pop. If you like bands like Mötley Crüe, or you don't switch off the radio when Cheap Trick comes on, check out my music.
Yeah, so something like we can expect something very energetic.
Of course, I mean, love it or hate it, but it's not boring.
Yeah, it's like this is the best point. Well, we are almost finishing here. I have to say that it was a great pleasure to talk to you. Okay,
right back at you.
Like, very nice. Okay. Also, we are going to help to spread the word about Double Crush Syndrome, which is a very good band. So it is a pity that the band didn't get the attention in Brazil, because sometimes the things get, as you said, producers and labels, they want something that had kind of a formula, and it's always, it's like it's selling this, and sometimes you have very good bands that they don't achieve a good level of fame, or are not so recognizable because of that, but at least we have technology to help to spread bands, talk about bands. Like in this live chat too, we talk sometimes about bands that people didn't even know that they existed, and this is the best part of technology, in my point of view. The worst part is like,
I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, the worst part for me is that people don't buy the material of the bands. They prefer to download it without paying. I have really get pissed about that.
But I think streaming is a good thing, because it opens up the world to everything. It's still hard to find, but I take the bad with the good. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like you to leave a message for the Brazilian fans, okay? And we really hope that we're gonna find someone to release any of your albums here, because it would be very interesting to have it released here in Brazil. So it's like, feel free to say something to the Brazilian audience here.
Hello, everybody in Brazil. Unfortunately, I have never been to your most beautiful country. I have many friends who've been there and who live there. One day I will come, and with whatever band, I hope you will show up and show me some love, because I already love you. Thank you very much for your attention.
You're welcome. And thank you very much for being here with us, okay? Galera, encerrando aqui, né? Hoje a gente teve a presença do Andy Brinks, e fiquem ligados aí para mais vídeos, né? Não esqueçam, como eu falei antes, né? Clica ali no sininho, né? A gente está sempre trazendo alguém interessante, né? fora do circuito, às vezes, para dialogar, apresentar coisas novas. Então, valeu e até a próxima, galera.